All right, guys. Welcome back to the Degen crew. I wanted to do a post-game analysis on some of the predictions in the last week. It's been over 72 hours since some of our last predictions, but I just wanted to go over some of them. So taking losses is fine as long as you learn something from them. So if I start making the same mistake twice, that's where I get mad at myself. But if I'm making the mistake and that's the time to learn, that loss was worth the learning experience. So Bad Bunny for the halftime show. The Bad Bunny bet, I was able to build a model early and trade around undervalued brackets, and I was adjusting daily to either side with exit to exit with profit. And I was making those moves pretty quickly. So overall, the Bad Bunny halftime show prediction was awesome. I think almost all of the predictions were profitable. There was one that I exited just because the model switched right away. So I exited very fast, and that one I might have taken like a small 1% loss, but everything else was super profitable on the Bad Bunny halftime show prediction. MicroStrategy, this is where I find this thing gets really interesting, is when I'm starting to look at predictions that I've made in the past and implementing rules. So MicroStrategy, it was profitable. I should be profitable 70% of the time on that prediction, specifically around holidays, because the market seems to be mispricing holidays when MicroStrategy announces their Bitcoin purchases. But on to the big one, the Pokemon auction. Stupid, stupid, stupid. I think I probably took about $500 of unnecessary losses. So I'll go over the good and the bad. So the good, I was able to get in early on the auction. So for my original thesis, I was super early, and it seems to be pretty profitable if you're able to get on these predictions early enough, like when they're first launched. And the original thesis of it being able to sell for a lot more than people think, mainly because they didn't know about this auction, and I'd found out about it because of the Netflix show. Also, so that was specifically for the Pikachu. I was able to place the right prediction pretty early on because it was mispriced. And for the Charizard, that one I was able to buy. I'll call it a lottery ticket or tail risk. I was able to go pretty far out on the tail risk or on the lottery ticket. I was buying at 1 million, and I know live on stream I was saying it was probably going to get to 1 million. We got almost all the way there. It was like $930,000. So that 1 cent lottery ticket ended up being worth 33 to at one point it was worth 75 cents. So the lottery ticket was good. The thesis was that it would sell for more than people thought. Like the last previous Charizard sold, I think was only $400,000. So when you're looking at it, it sold almost 50% above. It sold for almost $900,000, so almost double what the previous last Charizard sold for, or more than double. So the thesis that it was a Logan Paul card, that someone might try to buy both cards, or that the person who was, when there was two bidders on the Pikachu, if the second bidder wasn't going to get it, they may as well pick up the Charizard. So I'm not sure which one of those was correct, but something ended up being correct because it sold for almost double what the previous market was. So Charizard lottery ticket, excellent. I should have actually done some of that, or I could have done some of that on the Pikachu. Bought a like really far out of the money lottery ticket at like the 20 million, because that would have jumped about, it almost would have 20x'd. And I only say that, and I don't like to say I should have done this. I only say that because of during the auction, my purchases, I did start purchasing some far out of the money, but I was paying too much for them. I'll call it, I was gambling on it, and I shouldn't have been gambling on it. So the bad, for specifically during the auction, the Pikachu, if I had just stuck to the original where I had bought all of them before the auction even started, and I had told myself, okay, you're just watching the auction and you're not going to buy anything during the auction, then all of my predictions would have been profitable. But I did chase some stuff and buy some stuff during the auction, which I shouldn't have. So the bad, I didn't have a solid game plan during the auction, or I didn't follow. I would say I didn't have good enough game plan during the auction. I should have just stayed out and stayed with my the predictions that I made before the auction even started. I could have bought far out of the money lottery tickets like I did the Charizard. I didn't exit losses fast enough because I had no game plan. So during the auction, for example, I was buying the 15 or 17 million. And when that proved to be wrong, I didn't exit it fast enough, and the odds changed really fast. And the only reason I didn't exit fast enough was because I didn't have a game plan. And if you don't have a game plan, you're there second guessing yourself. Should I stay in? Should I exit? Should I buy more? So I wasn't able to make those decisions fast enough and lost extra money there because of it. I think I also acted on emotion. So over the last 10 years, I've created an investing game plan for myself, and I've been able to curate that well for myself and my style. These prediction markets seem to be, I'll call it a similar game, but it is the exact same emotion as investing. Your emotions are the same. You're chasing losses if you're losing. If you don't have the solid game plan, you're going to make bad decisions. So yeah, have a solid game plan. They're the exact same emotions. So just be careful when you're doing this. You can lose a lot of money. Um, in hindsight, the 17. So I think I'm the part that I'm mad at myself the most is I bought yes on 17 and no on 16. I think my thesis on the 15 million was correct, that anything above 15, it could have gone to 20 million. But that's where I call it, I didn't know the odds. I hadn't put together, like, I'm really happy with the Bad Bunny where I created a model and I was able to trade around the model. But with the 15 and 16, that's where I'm saying I was gambling because I didn't have a model built around it. I didn't know. It was just luck that ended up ending at 16 million instead of 17.1. So I shouldn't have even been involved in those markets at that time. If I wanted to, and that's where I say I should have just bought the lottery ticket. If I wanted to be involved in the 17 and 16 and or the 20 million, I should have just bought those 6 months ago and had a game plan of when to sell them, if it 20x or if it 10x or if it 5x during the auction live. So yeah, that's my post-game analysis on those three. So out of the three, two of the predictions went really well, and then the whole Pokemon auction one was just bad on my part. I'd give myself an F. And I'm not trying to be too hard on myself, but I would give myself a lower score, but we'll stop it at F. Yeah. So based on all that, again, like I said, it's okay to take losses as long as we learn from them. So here are our rules and our concrete rules based on all of this. Rule number 1, have an exit plan. Set a take profit on lottery tickets and or scale out, meaning you don't have to sell something all at once. If you buy something, you can scale in and out of it, meaning you can buy and sell small portions, small percentages of the trade. Rule number 2, don't chase losses. Obvious one, should be obvious for anyone who's trading stocks out there. Don't chase your losses. Any gambler, don't chase your losses. Rule number 3, don't trade on emotion. Rule number 4, remember overall thesis is buy undervalued brackets. And I should have been reminding myself when I was buying the 16 and 17 million. Rule number 5 is get in early. Rule number 6 is exit fast if new data changes the thesis. And rule number 7 is build a model to track the right brackets. So those are my rules that I'll be following. I'll add them to my spreadsheet. For example, I already made a change to one of the spreadsheets. I added in exit plan to the spreadsheet so that I can go back to it and say, okay, this is the exit plan for this prediction. Yes. So that's it. Those are the rules. I'm going to have that checklist going along as I place predictions to try to follow along. But the next one that I am currently working on, actually, I'll go over two really quickly. So this one I can probably take profits on already. So will Trump sue Trevor Noah by March 31st? This one was Trevor Noah made a comment during one of his award show speeches, and Trump immediately took to Twitter and said he was going to sue him. After diving in and doing some research on it, it turned into a time-based bet, meaning if he didn't sue Trevor Noah within the first week, it became very profitable to start buying this, because historically he hasn't sued he's sued companies more often than he's sued individual people. So for example, the bottom line is past the 10 to 14 days, historically the odds dropped sharply. So when I started purchasing this, I started purchasing it at like 89 cents. We're up 5%. It's down. It's already at 95. So I wanted it to close that gap. So the odds. So I can probably take profit on this, or I can at least take half profit on it now and let the rest ride. But we're past that 10 to 14 day mark. So the odds skew heavily in the favor of no, he will not sue Trevor Noah by March 31st. And you have the extra added, if he does sue him, maybe it might happen after March 31st. So there's a little extra bit of cushion there. So that was a quick one, small one, looking for small gains on that one. But yeah, that was the Trump lawsuit one. Largest company in the world. So right now we're tracking, or actually this one's specifically, I'm going for the second largest company in the world. And right now there is a race between Apple and Alphabet, and they keep switching. So this prediction is specifically called which company will be the second largest company in the world at the end of February. One of the reasons I like this one is it can be a monthly prediction if I figure this out properly. It could be a monthly prediction. I also really like the fact that I could potentially hedge this with traditional options or shares of either Apple, Google, or Alphabet and Nvidia. Apple, Google, sorry, I'm used to calling it Google, not Alphabet. So Apple, Google, or Nvidia. I could hedge this with traditional shares potentially if I make this larger prediction amounts. But so this right now, it's a race, Apple versus Alphabet. Apple stock, let's just refresh this. Ooh, it just went down. So Apple stock is currently trading at $261, their market cap. So this is really, it is about the share price, but share price, total outstanding shares equals your market cap. So it's really about market caps. Which one will be the greatest, the bigger by the end of February. So I'm going to talk about it not in share price, but in market cap. So right now the market cap is 3.82 trillion for Apple, and Google, we are at 3.74 trillion for Google. So those are your two market caps. So Apple is leading. There is 6 days left, or 5.5, because half of today is gone. So this I'm trying to model. What I'm trying to use here to model this properly is using historic volatility. So if I was looking at this is actually a volatility trade. I'm not long or short Apple, I'm long or short volatility. And I'm also looking at the correlation between Apple and Google's volatility. So what the average volatility the correlation between the two of them is. If the whole market fell, is the volatility correlated? Will one fall more than the other? That is why I'm looking at historic norms for volatility for Apple and Google for their market caps. And then I'm taking that and trying to price whether or not these odds are correct based on historic volatility. I'm looking for undervalued ones based on historic volatility, whether or not it's possible. So right now, I think for using this as a quick example, for Alphabet to catch up to Apple, it would have to move 4%. So for it to move 4%, or Alphabet to move up 3% and Apple to move down 1%, it would be outside of its historic norms in terms of volatility, usually around 1%. So looking to see if it is undervalued based on that. I have built a model around it. I think I have the prompt ready to go. So I built a prompt into this, so I'm using it. So with 6 days left, the poly market price is at 0.66. I'll change this if it's 64. Apple is at 3.82. 3.82. So Apple market cap 3.82. Google 3.74. 3.75. So the 1 week volatility on Apple is 26.1, or the 1 week volatility on Google is 36.8. The 20-day correlation. So this is the part that's I'm having trouble with for this one. So the 20-day, this is historically the long-term structural correlation is 0.96, but short-term it's 0.32. And I'll plug in both into the model and you'll see they'll become vastly different. But what I want this to do is give me what the undervalued price is. Yes, no, should I be buying, and what the fair value for yes is. But I'm going to show you how drastically different this can be if I switch the historic volatility amounts. So right now it's telling me the fair price for yes is 0.79 and the market price is 0.64. So that's the discount that I'm getting between 64 and 79, meaning I should be buying yes right now at 0.64. And what I'd be looking for is to trade the gap between 64 and closing it out at 79. I could close it out a tiny bit earlier to take profits. But right now it's saying yes. I won't go over the bet sizing amount. I'm actually going to keep the bet size pretty small in terms of overall size of the bankroll. Yeah. But yeah, so technically it should be a yes. But here's what happens if I change it. So the long-term correlation is so the long-term correlation was 0.96, but I think the short-term was 0.3. Let's see if I can find this. Short-term is 0.32. So we'll see what the undervalued is at 0.32. I'll show you how vastly different this is. So right now, if I'm using the short-term volatility, the fair price is 0.61, so it's a tiny bit overvalued, but it's pretty accurate. A tiny bit, yeah, we're coming down 0.63. So someone else is using the same model, is my guess. If that's what we're getting, they're using the short-term one versus the long-term one. So we should be using, if that's the case, we should be using our short-term volatility to track this. So I will not at this point add to the position. I did buy the position earlier on, but yeah, if it drops any lower, I will have to sell out of it. But right now, it is fair value. It's a no go. This is our final signal. No go. Off the playing field. We're not going. We're not adding to the position. There's no value there. I'm looking for undervalued, and I'm looking for us to close the spread. So that goes back to our rule, looking for undervalued brackets. So we're not adding right now. I'll keep an eye on it. That's the one we're looking at. And if I can figure this one out, this one will be a monthly one. If this model works, I can do this prediction almost every month, which is also what I am looking for. So hope you enjoyed that. Hope that information helped. Good luck out there. Thank you for watching.